Well, it's 3 o'clock right now, so good afternoon, everyone. It is a privilege to be here with you and to welcome you as we begin this new academic year, and I now call the Fall General Faculty Meeting to order. Copies of the meeting of the April 26th of last spring, they have been shared with all the faculty, and I would like to know if there are any corrections or additions to the minutes. Does anybody remember that we had a general faculty meeting in April? There being none, I declare the minutes approved as distributed. I think the first item on the agenda is my report, and I will try to keep it relatively short. Let me say, first of all, what you may have heard me saying in public, how glad I am, and I know that I represent the entire academic community when I say this, how glad we all are to see new energy on our campus, to see the return of our students and our faculty back to campus. I have the opportunity to live here during the summer, and I know some of you escaped from Colombia, and that's a very wise decision that you are making. But it's not only the weather; it's how empty the campus feels during the summer, and how much I'm energized, and I think all of us are energized by having the whole community back. It's a special year this year with the freshman class that we are bringing in. By far, as you have read, and as we have already been talking about in the spring, by far the largest class of freshman students that we brought in. We were talking in the spring, and I looked at the minutes actually to see what I said at that time. The estimate was we would be over 7,000 students, and at the end, the cohort of first-time, full-time students is 73, a little bit over 7,300. This was not what we expected. We were surprised a bit, and the reason that we were surprised was not the number of applications. We knew that we had a large record of new applications, 47,000 of them, and I reported this in the last general faculty meeting. And out of these 47,000, 15,000 were South Carolinians, and 32,000 were out of state. But the surprise was the yield. It was the number of South Carolinians that they decided to come and join us, and this freshman class has 4,000 South Carolinians out of the 7,300. This is a good thing, because this is a good thing. It shows the strength of our academic reputation. It shows the confidence that the students and their family have with the flagship university of the state. We are a destination of choice for the South Carolinians, and they and their families, they vote with their feet and their SUVs and their cars when they come here to drop the students. That's a strong position to be at. If you add, in fact, the transfer students that we receive, the bridge program students that we have, and also the exchange students that we received this fall, we have close to 9,500 new students on campus, and that's a great sign of vitality and success for this campus. It's important to say that we addressed all the issues, because when you have a growth like this, you are facing some challenges. You address these challenges. We had the number of beds that we need them to put them to sleep whenever they decide to go there. And we have a great new facility, the Campus Village, and you should go and visit this facility. If you haven't yet, that takes care of this part. We added parking spots, a significant number of parking spots. We have the most parking spots that we ever had. By 3,000 increased the number of parking spots that they were available to the students by getting through the foundation 2 parking garages that they were used for private type of businesses. We are able to deliver the food and deliver it with new seats there, because the new facility also has a big food facility. But most importantly of all of this, classrooms, sessions. We were able to bring back some classrooms after renovations were completed, sessions were added, and we added 137 new faculty members this fall. So because of all of this, things so far from what I hear and what I know, with always you expect at the beginning of a year, there's going to be some kind of small bumps that have to do with housing, may have to do with Wi-Fi in certain areas and so on. But so far, so good. We haven't had any serious problems in terms of infrastructure. During the summer also, we make progress in a number of different areas. We finalized the evaluation and the selection process for 5 USC research institutes that you have heard me talking about during the past year. The requirements were an interdisciplinary approach. Faculty members had to be from different colleges for them to be eligible to apply for a center. Looking at excellence in terms of the type of research, and for evaluating this, we used only National Academy members in all areas that they were submitted, and focus on key issues that affect not only South Carolina, but they're important for South Carolina, but at the same time, they affect as well the rest of the country. The 5 institutes that they were created will focus on rural education and development, clean water, extreme semiconductor chips, infectious diseases, and cardiovascular diseases. And I had the opportunity to meet with the directors of these institutes. They are the people who led the proposal, and I'm looking forward to working with them and their teams. I'm confident that not all of them necessarily, but a good number of them will be able to deliver federal center-based grants, which is what we're missing right now in order to move our research a step up. We also, during this summer, work with the Department of Commerce here, as well as our friends at Clemson, at SC State, and a number of other partners. We were the conveners of this group, and we remained in the leadership of this group. And what this group did altogether was to create a new entity, what we call SC Nexus, the South Carolina Nexus, that is seeking a regional, seeking the recognition from the federal government to become a regional innovation hub. What that means is that if we are successful, and our proposal went in a few weeks ago, it's by now 3 or 4 weeks ago, if we are successful and have this designation, there are going to be only 20 of these hubs in the country, and will open up the door for us to submit significant proposals for federal funding. This is not a research proposal only. There is a significant component of research, but it's a workforce development proposal, and it's the creation of innovation spaces, startup companies, and actually will have an impact on the economy of the state. I believe that this is going to be transformational for the state, as we will support innovation and we will manage to keep our graduates here in South Carolina. We also started the planning and the initiation of another network and another institute, if you want, focusing on rural brain health. This was a big success that we had last year with the General Assembly. We were established with the support of the General Assembly that provided one-time money for the infrastructure and recurring money for running some of this network. This network is a hub and spoke model. The hub is going to be here in Columbia, and the spoke are going to be 4 clinics to begin with in several parts of rural South Carolina, focusing on the brain and specifically focusing on dementia. This is a big problem. There are not enough physicians in rural South Carolina, and in fact, there are no specialists across rural South Carolina. So we will cover this void with a number of our physicians being out there and hiring physicians in this area. We already hired our new director, who is sitting at the back there, and he will be recognized. Leo Bonilla is here, and he joined us from Emory. He has a connection here with USC. He left to go to the medical university, but then to Emory, but we got him back, and he is going to be overseeing this entire effort. We're also making progress towards our health sciences campus. Medicine is going to be the key component there, but also the other health sciences will be present in the research component of that campus. We will be completing the design this fall, and it's going to be a very attractive design, and we will start construction sometime in the middle of next year. Speaking of infrastructure, right? We're trying to improve the infrastructure. You may see an improvement in the academic buildings in terms of Wi-Fi. Don't count what happened yesterday. There was a problem yesterday, and all of us suffered from this. But that was part of the network that was missing. There was a significant improvement done in the network when it came to residence halls. But this summer work started in some of the academic buildings as well. I don't think all of it has been completed, but at least some of you are seeing some difference. If nobody is seeing a difference, I have a problem with that, because that's the reports that I'm getting from IT. We are also starting the process of adding labs and classrooms. This is a project funded by the General Assembly, and this is the other half of the old law school building. Now, some of you are new faculty members, you have no clue what I'm talking about. We have a name for it. Because I'm an old faculty member, I don't remember what we call the new building, but pretty much the entire group here knows what I'm talking about. It's on Green Street, and that's the old law school. Half of it has been converted into labs, and the other half of the building, which is a cell, we have the money now to build additional labs and classrooms there to meet the needs that we have. I'm very excited about the first interdisciplinary certificate, which is under its way, the certificate in digital studies that the Senate approved in record time, by the way, very quickly last fall, and now it's becoming a reality this fall, and we will see how the students will make decisions, because nobody is forcing them to take any of these classes. They have the option to decide to take this certificate in digital skills. 3 more are making progress toward approval, and these 3 are also at the university level. We plan to add these certificates in areas that are identified by consulting firms, but also groups that focus on higher education. Burning Glass is one of them that focuses on higher education, and they highlight the essential workforce needs based on all the information that they get nationally. So the 3 certificates that they will go the Senate's way are strategic thinking and communications, project management and leadership, and data analytics and visualization. We have the information from across the country that graduates, college graduates that have these skills, first of all, find jobs much faster, and number 2, their starting salaries are about 10% higher of others in the same group. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give our students what they need, right? Not only in terms of the liberal arts education that we're committed to, which builds a good life and builds citizens, not only about their professional degrees in the different areas that they choose, but some unique skills also that everybody is expecting in today's economy. That's the idea. That's what we're trying to do. Finally, you read that we reorganized the structure for our efforts when it comes to access, diversity, and community efforts. And the 3 offices now are going to be part of this division. It used to be only 1 office. Now there are 3 offices in this division of access, civil rights, and community engagement. And the 3 offices that are there is going to be access and opportunity for all the students that they come here, and for our faculty and staff that come here. We need to make sure that we have access and opportunity. Also, compliance with civil rights and Title IX issues. And the third part is community engagement, because community engagement needs to be looked even more carefully if we want to have access eventually. And the office existed for quite some time under the provost. Actually, I was the provost when we created that office. But that office was more a collection of information, preparing us for the Carnegie designation. The new office that we are going to create, we will add personnel there, and it's going to be more active presence in the community. So that's the other change that you may see. Along these lines, and speaking about community, I would like to mention briefly some upcoming events. We will mark the 60th anniversary of the USC desegregation this Sunday and Monday. There are 2 events. I hope you get informed about it and you come to to attend, and one of them includes the groundbreaking ceremony in front of the McKissick building, where is the place where we will have actually a statue being placed at the beginning of next year. Christian Anderson, that I see also, and Julian Williams are also working on the 150th anniversary of the first desegregation of USC during Reconstruction. A lot of people don't know any of the history, and I think that if I'm not wrong, Christian, you're going to be at the next faculty meeting, Senate faculty meeting, right, talking about the plans. And it's a very elegant way to look at it, at the first trustee, the first student, and the first faculty during that period. I hope that some of you will join us and hear more, because that was a very, very short, brief summary of what has happened during the summer, but you will hear more about what happened during the entire last year and where we're heading this year in 2 weeks to the date today when we will have the State of the University address. And also, Iro and I hope to see you all at our house, at the President's house, next month for the annual faculty reception that we have. The date, I think, has been set by now. In my calendar, it shows October 18th. And our food theme this year is going to be Oktoberfest. It's appropriate for October, and we have a German chef. So he can do very well, I hope, in this case. So you will be hearing more details about that soon. So I wish you all a great academic year. I'll call the provost for her report, and then both the provost and I can take questions that you may have. So we'll avoid repetitions, that I answer something before the provost does.
Thank you, President. It's such a great time to be here again. It's just 2 weeks ago we had our new faculty orientation, 137 new faculty. It was really a great day. And just last Friday, we had our provost retreat where I got to review a lot of what happened in the past year and where we're going in this current year. So it's good to be here with you today. So part of my job as provost is every year by the faculty manual, I am required to report to you the results for our tenure and promotion processes. So I'm happy to report that we had a very busy year in fall of 22 and spring of 22 cycles. We had 74 different candidates with 70 positive outcomes, and over half of these were applications for promotion to full professor. So I'm also supposed to describe to you the agreement across these levels. So just so you're aware of how tenure and promotion works. First comes from the department. If there's not a department, it goes to the college level, like for instance in music. From there, it comes to the provost area. Well, it goes to the dean and then to the provost area, and then it goes to a university-wide committee called the University Committee on Tenure and Promotion. And that committee is comprised of members that are both elected from the faculty and appointed from the provost office. And I have to say out loud that that is one of the most difficult and challenging workload committees of this university. And I see shaking heads in the audience. I just want to say how much I appreciate the work that you do. From there, it goes to the president and he makes the final decision. So we had 33 candidates for tenure and promotion, 2 associate professor, and 30 of those were successful. We had 38 candidates for promotion to professor, and 37 of those were successful. And other positive applications included tenure at the rank of associate professor and at librarian. So overall, our agreement, as you can see, is very high. There were 3 cases where we had some kind of disagreement. So that concludes the official report required by our faculty manual. So we've also had a very busy year this year with hiring deans. So when the president arrived last July and I came in August, he said my first order of business was filling all these interim positions because we had 6 at the time. So I'm happy to report we hired 6 permanent deans and 1 interim dean in this past year. So we have, and you'll get to meet some of them today, the Dean of the Libraries, David Banush, our Dean of Social Work, Terry Brown, our interim dean of the School of Medicine, Columbia, Gerald Harmon, College of Education, Tommy Hodges, College of HRSM, Michael Sagas, our first ever dean of the graduate school, who's only a dean of the graduate school, Ann Bale, and Rohit Verma, our Dean of the Darla Moore School of Business. So we're really delighted. They're very high caliber deans, and we're expecting great things from them. After that year was in place and getting all those hires done, my focus has turned to structuring appropriately our office within the provost area. And so we have Mary Alexander, who's Vice Provost for Academic Administration and Chief of Staff. She's our go-to person for everything administrative in the office. Laura Lamika Anderson is my Interim Vice Provost for Undergraduate Studies. She comes to us from the humanities side and languages. David Cardenas, Interim Vice Provost and Associate Vice President for Global Affairs. David was Interim Dean of HRSM for almost 2 years and has a wealth of experience in the international setting and is just doing a great job. Marianne Fitzpatrick, Interim Vice Provost for Faculty Affairs, has held just about every position in the university, including Chancellor of Upstate. She has a lot of administrative experience, and we're really delighted to have her as our Interim Vice Provost for Faculty Affairs. Also created a brand new position because I think it's critically important in this current climate to make sure we're staying at the edge of innovation and also being thoughtful about how we launch new programs and where we launch those new programs. So I've hired my first ever Vice Provost for Strategy and Innovation, Shannon Means, who's helping in that area. And finally, we have Scott Versailles, the one responsible for those 7,344 students that came on board this past year. His office was moved to the Provost office from the Office of Student Affairs this past year. So that rounds out our office. Also in collaboration with Faculty Senate, Marianne Fitzpatrick worked to recruit a new ombudsman and a new faculty civility advocate. So I'm pleased to report that Robin DiPietro from HRSM is our new faculty ombudsman, and Donna Schmidt is our new faculty civility advocate, and she comes from the College of Business. So this past year, I spent a lot of time. Believe it or not, I know people didn't believe it when I said I'm here for the long haul. I'm not moving again. So I spent a lot of time getting to know the campus, and it was great. I made the joke when I started my faculty provost retreat this past Friday that, hey, I'm back for a second year. It got a good laugh. But I did spend time to really get to know the campus. So some of the things that came out of that listening tour that I want to label as successes for us is we set minimum faculty salaries that are consistent with the Columbia marketplace. So for PhD level faculty, we set the standard to the Richland 1 and 2 county school districts. So that is our new minimum salary for any instructional faculty member. We also increased our graduate student pay last year. $14 an hour was consistent with what the university was paying its lowest wage. And this year it's gone up to $15 an hour. And in addition, because I heard repeatedly across all of the colleges I went to how difficult it is to compete for graduate students because of our stipends. For full-time PhD students who are working 20 hours a week, we've set a minimum of $20,000 a year for their stipend. And that's closer to what is a livable wage in the city of Columbia. We've also done some facility upgrades like put hot water in the Wardlaw building and new seats in our theaters. We've also done extensive work on utilization of classrooms to understand where our needs are. And I partnered last year with deans to release some of their college-held classrooms so that we could increase our inventory and make enough classrooms available for our expanding freshman class last year and now this year. And we did an Imagine Carolina for faculty, and now we've put together an implementation team, and they've met for the first time and have some great ideas for how we move forward. So what are we doing for 23-24 in the provost area? As President said, we have more than 7,300 new freshmen on campus, and these freshmen are really a very different generation than how I grew up from. I guess I must be a millennial or whatever. What were those ones before millennials? Baby boomers. I'm at the end of the baby boomers. So these generations, these students are really different. And the point I made at the provost retreat is we're going to have to adapt because they are very different. They grew up on a smartphone. Everything needs to be interoperationally cohesive. They want things instantaneously, and they value efficiency greatly, as well as parking right next to the building, which we recognize we can't do. So many of the goals this year are focusing on how we organize ourselves to meet the needs of our students in this generation. We're nearly complete with our implementation of our 4-year advising model. We started last year in 22-23. We modeled this after a program that was being done in the College of Engineering under Hussein and his team, so that a student who comes in year 1 is advised consistently across those 4 years by the same person. It builds a relationship both for the advisor and the student, but it also builds a sense of purpose for the advisors that are working with us. That is underway, and for students who transfer, they'll transfer into another advisor, but hopefully for the 70% of our students that don't transfer, they'll have the same person. We're also working with Faculty Senate. I know a Senate report is due on the core curriculum. There were 2 committees that were comprised last year, one led by Sandra Kelly, one led by Audrey Korsgaard. One looked at what is the outside external landscape of core curriculum across the country, and the other is, how's our core working and what are the pressure points. So we're expecting those reports soon. We'll be interpreting those and working with the Faculty Senate to appoint a committee to move towards implementation. We're continuing expansion of our student resources in the area of first-year retention. So I created a new program called Garnet. It's the Graduation Retention Network. So we have 18 different offices on the student side. I'll be working with Shelley Dempsey, who leads us, to bring in the faculty voice as well. But they're getting together once a month to identify what are barriers and facilitators of both retention and graduation. Part of the early results of wins from that are that we've created something called a completer degree, and we've provided scholarships to pay off debts that prevent juniors to seniors from enrolling for amounts that are $3,000 or less if they have a GPA above 3.4. It's so far been really phenomenally successful. I'm anxious to see how it turns out this year and how many more students we can impact who fall into that category. And we're also working at trying to build programming for first gen. We have 1 in 5 of our new freshmen is a first generation student. 19% are Pell eligible. So this is a really important area for me as a first gen student. How do we help these students make it through and graduate in 4 years? So we're contemplating creation of an LLC, a living learning community devoted to first gen. We're also looking at DFW classes and creating and piloting. We didn't create it. We're piloting a new program called Circle in calculus and in accounting. It's a platform funded by the NSF that creates a way for students to interact, to gain engagement, both with the faculty, but with each other, to create study groups and ask questions. And so far we have 62% engagement amongst the classes that have been selected. We've also heard a lot from this generation of students about the need for efficiencies in technologies. So the IT committee of the Faculty Senate did a survey last year, and we found that there are 6 different learning management systems being used to execute teaching and across the various colleges at USC. So we are going to move towards having one platform to simplify the life of our students, and that platform will be Blackboard Ultra Course View. I know there's some debate about whether that's the best platform. We have to use that platform for the coming year and probably 3 years after, but I'm putting a committee together with the Faculty Senate IT and in-depth committees to look at what platforms may be best as we move long-term into this. And we have to partner with our other system partners like Upstate, Buford, and Aiken, because our platform determines what they use. So that'll be a big act, but we're going to work together to figure that out. Finally, in relation to faculty, we've also focused on creating new programs for faculty. What I heard on my listening tours is that, there's a lot of need for not the high level end like leadership training, which we've done a really great job of here at USC, but how mid-career faculty need to make it to that full professor step, that a lot of people are getting stuck in the middle. So I hired a new Associate Provost for Faculty Development, Toby Jenkins, who will be working to develop programming for mid-career faculty this year. We're also creating a new faculty onboarding program that's being led by Mary Ann Fitzpatrick and Mary Alexander, along with Kim Pruitt. We hope to have a full either semester or year-long program for all new faculty so that you get engaged with us, because we spend so much to recruit you. We want you to be successful here and to retain you. We're also engaging experts. They're coming actually next week to look at equity-minded faculty workload. One of the other things I heard on my campus tours and listening was that there's a lot of difference in the service well, I won't call them requirements, the service expectations for different groups of our faculty, and often those service things are unmeasured. So women, for instance, carry more of the service burden. Minority faculty, are expected to meet with minority students by those students. They want to meet with faculty. They want to know their faculty. So we're bringing in this group. They're also funded by NSF in the advanced program at University of Maryland. These two experts are coming next week to help us figure out here, how do we measure faculty workload in an equitable way. And then finally, I'm going to continue my listening tour, but I'm going to make this listening tour a little more specific and focused on our first year faculty. So I'll be doing that every month this coming academic year to get to know our new faculty better. But as always, you can always reach out. Happy to come to your department or your college and meet with you as a group. So that concludes my report. I think the president and I are now ready for questions. He'll get all the hard ones. And we have microphones if you need one. We have one down here.
Thank you. I have a question for the provost. First of all, thank you for the detailed report, both you and President Emeritus Provost Terminal. You mentioned that there were disagreements. Thank you. I'm Marco Valtorta, Department of Computer Science and Engineering. You mentioned that there were 3 disagreements in the tenure and promotion process. I was wondering whether you could detail where the disagreements were and what kind of disagreements there were. So at what level were the disagreements, and if possible, what kind they were? The number is small, so if it is not on your mind, that's fine, but I was curious of that.
I don't have those details in front of me. I think in at least one case, the president and I disagree.
Okay.
We still talk to each other.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Part of it is, I chaired an APT committee when I was at Minnesota, and I've written many, many letters, and I think it's the barometer here. I think we're figuring it out.
And I imagine there will be a report with the usual matrix in.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Aaron Dicker, Department of English. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So I'm amazed by the fantastic numbers of both students and new faculty and promotion that the university has provided. And I'm really intrigued by a new faculty program to target mid-career faculty. My concern really stems from the pandemic. I feel like the individuals who are most left behind on the faculty level are adjunct faculty and instructional teaching faculty who struggled to find positions during the hiring freeze and now might be stuck in a loop of being an adjunct forever. So what is the university doing to address getting new hires into positions that are full-time equivalent?
Full-time equivalent or tenure track? Because you're talking about two different things. You can be an adjunct faculty with full-time.
Adjunct into professional track instructional.
All right.
So, across our colleges, I'll point out arts and sciences. So last year, your dean, Dean Samuels, moved a lot of adjunct faculty into the instructor track for this very reason. We wanted stability of our teaching faculty. And so, across the board, we're looking at how do we create the right balance. Interestingly, the ratio of tenure track to professional track faculty has been constant over the last 10 years. I did an analysis because I thought we were replacing tenure track people with professional track people, but actually that's not the case. The trend has been flat for that over the last 10 years. I'll let the president talk about tenure track.
Well, there are two issues here. And first of all, I'm glad that the provost's office, together with the deans, made some changes in terms of the length of the contracts that we have. Because if you have some people that they are adjunct or professional faculty that consistently and over a period of time we employ them, right? It makes no sense to have year-to-year or 2-year contracts. We can extend the contracts because we know that unless something very unexpected happens, they will continue to teach. Now, the issue of the tenure track, that's why I asked the question about full-time versus tenure track. We have been working on a new initiative to hire a significant number of tenure track faculty members. We're still have to be very careful about the finances, and that's why we haven't made any decision yet. But we know that this fall will come out, and the deans have heard about it, also with a call for requests for tenure track faculty members. And the number is still debatable, but the number will be significant. It's not, a small number. Part of the issue will be the professional or the adjunct faculty, but they will have to compete. There will be an open competition, and there will be others from all over the place that they may decide to come. So I cannot guarantee positions, but there will be an opportunity for them.
Brett Altschul, Physics and Astronomy. I had 2 questions and then a technical correction. But both of the questions are about stuff that was mentioned by the provost. First, about the tenured promotion stuff. Usually we see a table of how many people were recommended at each stage of the process, and then going through the process. And that's not in the minutes, and it hasn't been displayed. That's not on the agenda. Is it going to show up in the minutes or what?
I'm happy to distribute the matrix as part of the minutes.
Okay, thank you. The second thing is that you mentioned the minimum salary for PhD instructional faculty was based on the Richland 1 salary, presumably for all people with PhDs. Is that pegged to their salary, or was that a one-time set?
It was a one-time set. I will see if Richland has increased it. We had the 5% increase across the board of state employees, so that should apply to Richland County too.
And the last thing is a correction, which I just want to mention because this sometimes causes confusion. The IT committee and many other committees are not committees of the faculty senate, they're committees of the faculty. Although they're mostly run out of the faculty senate, they are full faculty committees.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Armstrong. I'm in faculty. And I was just, as you were speaking about our incoming freshman class and that they are digital natives, can you just speak to the plans the university might have to do like enterprise-wide licenses for active learning technologies like H5P or something that faculty can then utilize to really connect with these students that are such digital natives?
So that's a great point. You know, we have a new interim vice president for IT. And one of the challenges our students have reported to us is that within each of their different classrooms, they have faculty who use different things like Slack or MetLab or different programs that aren't tools, right? That are used only for that class and they have to learn something. So my goal from a student perspective, you know, thinking how do we make this the most successful journey for a student is to identify those tools and bring on those best tools for our campus and have everyone using the same tools. So I'll be working with the faculty committee that is associated with the Faculty Senate, with IT and INDEV, to create that faculty working group to figure out what those should be.
And let me add to this that I hope you don't expect the administration to decide what you're doing in the classroom. I'm always a big proponent that you know better than anybody else, and we need to hear ideas from the bottom up. It cannot be that we will come out and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm hearing a lot of these suggestions outside of the university, but I think we need to have some organized way for this to flow up to the provost, so it starts where it should start. It shouldn't start from the top down. Although I'm not even sure who is at the top or the bottom in this process. That's a different story.
Yes, again, Marco Valtorta, Department of Computer Science and Engineering. This is both for the provost and the president. I'm personally excited about the new certificates, and especially the certificate on digital studies, where my area has been heavily involved, and of course we hope it will be a great success. I also think that the three other areas that were mentioned by the president in his report are reasonable areas. I can understand that. I have a maybe modest concern about the fact that these areas were identified by outside consultants, if I understood the president correctly.
Not consultants to us.
Yes.
Right? We didn't hire any consultants. This is a consulting company, Deloitte,
Yes.
that has provided a report for the entire country. It's not that we paid consultants to come.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. That really helps me understand how the process worked. And I hope, of course, that the faculty will be fully involved per policy and procedure.
And Marco, that was work was done by the Strada Foundation. The Strada Foundation was behind it. It's one of the key educational foundations. So Burning Class did the research and it collected the data from the employer standpoint. Then Deloitte was in to see how can this be parted in different areas and also talk to the employers. And then Strada, together with them, put the report that was made available to all presidents.
Thank you.
Mohammad Azhar from Cell Biology and Anatomy School of Medicine. I'm really excited to hear this mid-career faculty initiative. Now, coming from the health sciences, especially the mid-career faculty, they are the one who are actually now ended their first R1s, trying to move to get the new NIH funding. And that's where there is lack of bridge funding. So I've heard a lot of fellow researchers who are basically looking to have some kind of bridge funds, even short term, that helps them bridge that gap so that they can actually get the next big R1. And I'm wondering, is there any such initiative in pipeline?
So the VPR's office has some funds. The colleges have the most funds, the way our budget model now works. So you could send requests through my office or the VPR's office, and I can work with the deans to help figure out a solution. But there's not a bridge fund per se.
Right, if there are no other questions, I think the provost continues to introduce together with the deans the new faculty members.
All right. Before I do that, since one of my new deans has no faculty, Ann Vale, I want you to stand up so everyone gets to meet Ann Vale, our new dean of the graduate school. And David Banush, are you here? Our new dean of libraries is not here, but he similarly doesn't have faculty right today. So we're going to start with the College of Arts and Sciences. I know Dean Samuels is not here and someone else was going to help him. Yes. Okay. So if you'll stand, we're just going to have you stand where you are and do the introductions.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I am Michael Culver. Instead of as someone whose name is often mispronounced, I have no problem. And so I'll be using a guide here to help me get through the slides. For our tenured and tenure track faculty, we have Huey Chen, Assistant Professor for Biological Sciences, PhD from McGill University. Next, we have Chelsea Fisher, Assistant Professor, Anthropology, PhD from the University of Michigan. Carla Flink, Associate Professor, Political Science, PhD from Texas A&M University. And Dr. Flink joins us from American University and will direct our Master's in Public Administration program. Jesse Fu, Assistant Professor in Psychology, PhD from University of Texas at Austin. Amir Husseini, Assistant Professor, Chemistry and Biochemistry, PhD from Indiana University. Am I following along on the slides with you?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Next, we have Yelena Yankovic-Rakovich, an Assistant Professor, Anthropology, PhD from Notre Dame. Yuhao Khan, Assistant Professor, Geography, PhD from the University of Wisconsin. Alisa Kiselev, Assistant Professor, Languages, Literatures, and Culture, PhD from Pennsylvania State University. Next, we have Howard Liu, Assistant Professor, Political Science, PhD from Duke University. Tren Liu, Professor, Chemistry and Biochemistry, PhD from Emory University. And Dr. Liu joined us as our Smart State Chair from East Carolina University. Next, we have Melissa Stuckey, Associate Professor for History, PhD from Yale University. And Dr. Stuckey joins us from Elizabeth City State University and will be directing our public history program in the college. Next, we have Kristen Lunza Trujillo, Assistant Professor, Political Science, University of Minnesota. Waylon Su, Assistant Professor, Mathematics, PhD from Texas A&M University. Wendell Waters, Assistant Professor, Chemistry and Biochemistry, PhD from Purdue. Xicheng Wang, Assistant Professor, Geography, PhD from Rutgers University. Haonang Zhang, Assistant Professor, Mathematics, PhD from the University of Leeds. June Jahao, Assistant Professor, Sociology, University of Georgia. And those were our tenure and tenure track faculty. Can we give them a hand? So admittedly, I probably have the longest list, and so I will get through it quickly. We have two more categories. We have our faculty fellows, and then we have our professional track faculty. For faculty fellows, we have Lauren Benton, faculty fellow in Women and Gender Studies, PhD from the University of California, Los Angeles. Patrick Harris, faculty fellow, English, PhD, University of Texas at Austin. And Tuyen Hun, faculty fellow, psychology, PhD, University of Nebraska, Lincoln. And then next, we have our professional track faculty. Jennifer Blevins, instructor, English, PhD from University of South Carolina. Griffin Brooks, instructor, statistics, master's from the University of South Carolina. Lyle Brown, instructor, theater and dance, MFA from Roosevelt University. Yanhua Chen, research professor, chemistry and biochemistry, PhD from Emory University School of Medicine. Tristan Collier, instructor in psychology, master's from the University of South Carolina. Kelsey Collins, instructor, criminology and criminal justice, PhD from the University of South Carolina. Megan Crawford, instructor, biological sciences, PhD from the University of Colorado. Erin Davenport, instructor, sociology, PhD from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Rocky Giratano, instructor, biological sciences, PhD from University of Georgia. It took everything in me not to say go dogs, I'm sorry. Samuel Harding, instructor, psychology, PhD from Indiana University. Scott Keith, instructor, theater and dance, MFA from Yale University. Kaylee Margita, instructor, chemistry and biochemistry, MS from North Carolina State University. Christian Merritt, instructor, biological science, PhD from the University of South Carolina. Michael Zach Mueller, instructor, English, PhD from the University of Nebraska. Mickey Parker, instructor, biological sciences, PhD from Texas A&M. Neil Palomis, instructor, English, PhD from the University of South Carolina. Tara Remington, instructor, geography, PhD from the University of South Carolina. Alex Steiner, instructor, psychology, PhD from the University of South Carolina. Nancy Tolson, instructor, African American Studies, PhD from the University of Iowa. And last but certainly not least, Angela Tumini, instructor, languages, literatures, and cultures, PhD, University of Oxford, UK. Thank you. Can we give them all a hand?
All right. Thank you, Arts and Sciences. Next up, Dean Hodges for the College of Education.
Good afternoon. I have the pleasure of welcoming our new faculty here today. In the Department of Leadership, Learning Design, and Inquiry, we welcome Whitney Roach, Assistant Professor in Curriculum Studies, PhD from Texas Christian University. In the Department of Educational and Developmental Science, we claim Ann Vale, Dean of the Graduate School, PhD from the Ohio State University. Lauren Lejeune, Assistant Professor in Special Education, PhD from Vanderbilt University. Nicole Severio, Assistant Professor in Counselor Education with PhD from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. Jennifer Hightower, Assistant Professor of Counselor Education, PhD from the University of Tennessee. Angie Sterrett, Assistant Professor of Educational Psychology and Research, PhD from the University of South Carolina. Christy Rohde, Clinical Assistant Professor in Counselor Education, PhD from the University of Carolina. And Andrea Taliaferro, Professor of Physical Education, PhD from the University of Virginia.
Thank you, Dean Hodges. Next up, we have Susan Elkins from Palmetto College.
Good afternoon. I'm pleased to welcome 7 new faculty members to Palmetto College. First, at USC Lancaster, Connor Asul, Assistant Professor of Music with a PhD in Musical Arts from the University of Georgia. Next is Sue Mazzulla, Instructor of Statistics with a Master's in Applied Mathematics from Georgia Institute of Technology. Also from USC Lancaster, Deborah Roll, Instructor of Criminal Justice with an MS in Criminal Justice, Law Enforcement Administration from the University of South Carolina. Then at USC Sumter, Chris DeFozis, Assistant Professor of Psychology with a PhD in Psychology from Antioch University. Next is Jesse Fryermuth, Assistant Professor of Music with a PhD in Musicology from the University of Kansas. Then Tanya Hazra, Assistant Professor of Mathematics with a PhD in Mathematics from the University of Alabama. And finally, from USC Sumter, Jennifer Weed, Instructor of English with a Master's in English from Arizona State University. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Dean Andrews, College of
Hi.
Nursing.
Jeanette Andrews, I have the distinguished pleasure of announcing 8 new faculty in the College of Nursing, and they're all here. So I'm going to ask them to stand as I call their name. Stephanie Armstrong, Associate Professor, PhD from the Medical University of South Carolina. Anfel Cruz, a DNP from Maryville University. Jennifer May, Assistant Professor, University of Arizona, has a PhD in nursing and just completed a postdoc in North Carolina. Brenda Muchler, Assistant Professor, a Doctor of Education from Allen College. Kelly Niemeyer, Assistant Professor, Doctor of Nursing Practice from the University of South Carolina. Stephanie Schaller, Assistant Professor, DNP, Doctor of Nursing Practice from the University of South Carolina. Danielle Simmons, Assistant Professor, DNP, University of South Carolina. And Carissa Tucker, Assistant Professor, PhD in Nursing from University of South Carolina and just completed a postdoc at Stanford. Welcome our 8 new faculty, College of Nursing.
Thank you. Dean Chandler. I have too many Tommies. Who are deans?
Sorry, I was the oddball sitting way over there. We have 14 new faculty in the Arnold School. I'm very pleased to introduce them. If they're here, please stand. Heather Bonilla, rank professor, PhD from the University of South Carolina, is joining our Communication Sciences and Disorders Department. Laura Droge, assistant professor, PhD from A.T. Still University, also Communication Sciences and Disorders. Laura Heidenreich, instructor, Communication Sciences and Disorders, MS from East Carolina University. Liz Will, assistant professor, Communication Sciences and Disorders, PhD from Colorado State University. Devin Bowes, assistant professor of Environmental Health Sciences, PhD from Arizona State University. Andrea Gilling, assistant professor, PhD in Earth and Environmental Sciences from University of New Hampshire. Laura Langen, assistant professor, Environmental Health Sciences, PhD from University of Plymouth. Peter Baker, assistant professor in Epidemiology Biostatistics, PhD from the University of California, San Diego. Nandita Parimal. Nandita is an assistant professor in EpiBios, PhD in Epidemiology from University of Toronto. Yanan Zhang, do you know on here? She's assistant professor, PhD in biostatistics from the University of South Carolina. Bella Alonso. Bella is an instructor in health promotion, education, and behavior, MPH from the University of South Carolina. Marta Bornstein, assistant professor, health promotion, education, behavior from UCLA. Xuying Yang, assistant professor, PhD from the Chinese University of Hong Kong. And Alton Croker, assistant professor, health service policies and management, University of Iowa. Welcome, Alton. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Chandler. And now our new Dean of HRSM, Mike Sagans.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Other than myself, I'm the only tenured professor to join this year. We have 3 instructional ranks, but I am joining the Faculty of Sport, Entertainment Management as a professor, and then the new Dean of the College of Hospitality, Retail, and Sport Management. We've added 1 instructor in each of our 3 units. Instructor in the School of Hospitality, Tourism Management, Darren Kirkley, actually a long-term adjunct that we brought on full-time. Degree, has 2 degrees from USC here, Master's Sport Entertainment and Master's in Hospitality, Tourism Management. Lena Pinkston joins the Department of Retailing as a clinical instructor, Master's of Retailing from here at USC. And Matt Dunn, actually a switch from a previous role he had in the department, but he's an instructor in Department of Sport and Entertainment Management, has a Master's in Music Industry Management from Northeastern University.
Thank you, Dean Sagans. All right, Dean Reichert, CIC.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Very pleased to have 7 new faculty members joining us. talking about differentiators. We're one of 8 programs in the country that has both information, library and information science, as well as journalism and mass communication. We'll start with our School of Information Science. We've got Margaret Cook, who's joining us as an instructor. She has an MFA in writing from Carnegie Mellon University. And anyone that's here, please raise your hand or stand. Hey, welcome. Glad to have you, Margaret. Also, our new director and professor of the school is Lyda Fontes McCartan. She has her PhD in higher education and student affairs leadership from the University of Northern Colorado. Also joining us is Alamir Novin. He's an assistant professor. His PhD is in collaborative information behavior from the University of British Columbia. Also from the school is Rachel Williams. She's a new assistant professor with a PhD in library and information studies from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. In our School of Journalism and Mass Communication, I'd like to welcome Brandon Shalita, if he's here. He's an instructor with a MS degree in multimedia journalism from VCU. Parks Rogers, he's an instructor as well with an MBA from Marymount University. And our new director of the journalism school as well as professor is Damian Waymer, PhD in communication from Purdue University. So welcome all of you.
Thank you, Dean Reichert. Now we have Dean Hashiriri from the College of Information Engineering and Computing.
It's my pleasure to introduce 6 new colleagues, 4 tenure track and 2 faculty fellows. The first 2 are from biomedical engineering program with tenure homes in different departments. If you're here, please stand when I name you. So the first one is Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharif, assistant professor of mechanical engineering, and he has a PhD from biomedical engineering at UVA and postdoc at electrical computer engineering at Johns Hopkins. Dr. Ta Wei, associate professor of chemical engineering, PhD from chemical engineering at the other USC, and also before he was associate professor of chemical engineering at Howard University. Dr. Peng Fu, assistant professor of computer science and engineering with PhD from Iowa, and also a postdoc at Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia. In integrated information technology, we have Dr. Eli Kafuri, assistant professor, PhD from here, from us. And 2 faculty fellows in civil engineering, Dr. Leslie Joseph, with PhD in civil engineering, and PhD from here, University of South Carolina, and prior was member of technical staff at Savannah River National Lab. And finally, in mechanical engineering faculty fellow, we have Dr. Alejandro Rodriguez with PhD from here, from USC. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dean Harmon, School of Medicine, Columbia.
Thank you. I've got 3 I'm going to introduce to you, so we're going for quality as well as a compacted quantity here. First one I'm going to introduce is Professor Keisha Wilson, who's from right here in West Columbia, South Carolina. Keisha went up to a school that's got orange as its color, got a bachelor's degree there before she saw the light, and got a PhD in biological sciences at the University of South Carolina. Thank you, Keisha. She's in our Department of Pathology, assistant professor of Department of Pathology, Microbiology, and Immunology. Next person is Dr. Professor Colin Evans, who has a PhD in cardiovascular biology. Colin got that at King's College in London, UK. He's assistant professor, Department of Cell Biology and Anatomy. Thanks, Professor Evans. You had an introduction briefly from the president, Dr. Leonardo Bonilla, who has an MD PhD from State University of Campinas in Brazil. Before he did his internship and residency in neurology at MUSC, then a fellowship in clinical neuropsychology, neurophysiology at MUSC. He is in the Department of Research and Graduate Education and is a senior associate dean for research at the University of South Carolina School of Medicine. Thank you very much.
Vice Provost Miriam Fitzpatrick will introduce the new faculty, School of Medicine, Greenville.
First of all, I'd like to introduce Debbie Barrington, Assistant Professor with a PhD in Epidemiological Science from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Krista Blackwell, Assistant Professor with a PhD in Physiology from Howard University. Christian Porter-Stransky, Associate Professor with a PhD in Biopsychology, again from Ann Arbor, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Aaron Wida, Assistant Professor, PharmD, degree in Pharmacy from the University of New Mexico, College of Pharmacy. Peter Guy-Armata, who's an Associate Professor with a PhD in Molecular Biology from the Swedish Agricultural University. Christina Zarenko, Assistant Professor with a PhD in Anthropology from the University of South Carolina. And finally, Leah Robinson, Assistant Professor with a PhD in Learning Design and Technology from Wayne State. Thank you.
And now we have Dean Harding from the School of Music.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to present two new faculty in the School of Music, both on the professional track. The first one is, as far as we know, the first ever professional track joint position in the history of the university with arts and sciences and music. Emily Allen has a PhD in musicology from Florida State University. She'll be working for the Institute of Southern Studies in Arts and Sciences and for the School of Music. Our other brand new professional track faculty is Ashley Emerson. Ashley will be on our voice faculty as well as the assistant director of our Music Leadership Institute, Spark. And she joins us from the Metropolitan Opera and in private practice. Thank you so much.
I think we have our Associate Dean from Social Work, Terry, to introduce social work.
Dean Brown is off on a development visit, I think, this afternoon. So she asked me to step in. Is this? It is working. Okay. I'm really proud on behalf of the college to welcome our 4 new faculty members. They are Brandy Anderson, 3 to the professional track. So first, Brandy Anderson. Go ahead and stand up. PhD from the University of South Carolina. Scott Fairweather, MSW from the University of South Carolina. And Ann Gowdy, PhD from the University of Georgia. And then we also have Parthena Luke, who was our Bridge to Faculty member, and she has an MSW from South Carolina.
All right. The School of Law. Associate Dean Ned Snow.
Dean Hubbard also could not be here today, asked me to announce our 4 new faculty. So 2 of whom are here today. First, we have Mark Glover. He joins us from the University of Wyoming. He's a professor of law, has his LLM from Harvard Law School and JD from Boston University School of Law. Then we have Megan Brooks, an assistant professor of law. She is joining us from Yale Law School, where she earned her JD. David Carducci received his JD from Georgia State University College of Law, and he is a legal writing instructor. And then James Smith Harrison III, who goes by Trey, received his JD from the University of South Carolina School of Law and is also a legal writing instructor. Thank you.
All right. Next up, Dr. Verma, Darla Moore School of Business.
Good afternoon. My name is Rohit Verma, and I'm joined with 11 additional colleagues at the Moore School of Business. So let me introduce my 11 colleagues. If you're here, please rise. First, Joseph Johnson. He joins the accounting department as assistant professor, and his last degree was from Georgia Tech. April Neal joins the international business department as professor, and her last degree is from University of Maryland. And this one has the most interesting last name. Sword Bukuldijk. Did I say it right? Okay, good. He joins the International Business Department as professor, and his last degree is from Tilburg University in Netherlands. Christine Laka, she joins the International Business Department as a lecturer with the last degree from Duke University. Sang-Min Lee joins the Economics Department as assistant professor with the last degree from University of Minnesota. Maria Cantet joins the Economics Department as a clinical assistant professor with the last degree from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Jen Martinson joins the Center for Business Communications as clinical assistant professor and has a last degree from University of South Carolina. Oliver Lutz joins the Management Science Department as clinical assistant professor with a last degree from Virginia Tech. Jeffrey Graybeard joins the Management Department as clinical associate professor with the last degree from University of Georgia. And finally, Yogesh Chavda joins the Marketing Department as a lecturer with the last degree from University of South Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Verma. We have Associate Dean Rebecca Geddes introducing our University of Libraries faculty. And while she's getting the mic, this year we have no hires from the College of Pharmacy or the Graduate School. Next year will be a different year.
Thanks. Sorry, I just closed my list. I'm here for Dean Banish today. Happy to introduce 3 new faculty in the university libraries. The first, as has already been introduced, we are very happy to welcome our new dean, David Banish. And our second new faculty is Katie Hoskins. Katie is our digital collections librarian, and she received her degree here at University of South Carolina. And with us today is Youngju Grace Jun. She is our assessment and user experience librarian, and she received her degree at the University of Michigan. Thanks.
So I'd really like all of our new faculty that just got introduced that are here to stand up. This is awesome. Next year's going to be even bigger and better. Thank you, guys. Turn it back over to President Emeritus.
By the way, I'm thrilled that a lot of the new faculty are here. This has been a tradition of the university. I think we lost part of it. Last year, there was a transition year between COVID and coming back, and it's good to see you here. So thank you for being here today. Now, before we move forward with the Faculty Senate report, I would like to take a moment to recognize the leadership of Audrey Coscard. Where is Audrey? I saw her, she came in, she's right there. Audrey was fantastic. She completed her term as the Faculty Senate Chair, and you should know that she represented the faculty in excellent ways during the Board of Trustees meetings. What you see in the public sessions and what is happening in the executive sessions, Audrey always carried the voice of the faculty there, and I really appreciate her service into the Board of Trustees as well. Now it's my pleasure to welcome the new chair of the Faculty Senate. He hasn't been scared enough by a couple of meetings that we had with the Board of Trustees, so he remains there. Wayne Newton is the new chair, and I will call him to give. Is this your first Faculty Senate report? It is. All right, here we go. Rookie.
Actually, I've already made a mistake. I forgot the April meeting. I also was there filling in for Audrey, so some of you may have seen me there. For those of you that haven't met, my name is Wayne Newton. I'm in the Department of Chemistry, Arts and Sciences. For the next 2 years, I'll be the chair of the Faculty Senate, assuming I'm not recalled or institutionalized in the meantime. I wanted to extend my warm regards to President Emeritus, Provost Arnett, and of course to all the great new faculty members who are joining us as colleagues. You've made a great choice coming to USC, and you definitely have come at the right time. We're on definitely an upward trajectory. Now, I don't have any Faculty Senate business to bring before the general faculty at this meeting, although I'm sure we'll have quite a bit in the spring meeting. But I did want to just say a few words about serving in the Senate or in the faculty standing committees that have already been mentioned. As I'm sure you're all aware, this is a very challenging time in higher education. We have transformative new technologies coming on board with AI being involved in the classroom. We have some real challenges with attacks on academic freedom and tenure that are happening across the nation. And these are all challenges that we must meet as faculty. One of the prime ways that we can meet these challenges is to engage in faculty governance. Okay. The main mechanism of faculty governance here at USC is the Faculty Senate. The Board of Trustees has empowered us to govern our own affairs in certain areas, such as courses and curricula development, faculty welfare, standards for tenure and promotion, and other areas. The Senate is the main body that is involved in faculty governance at the university level. And as has been mentioned earlier, there are also standing committees that consist of faculty across the university that interface with the Senate. Some of the topics these standing committees cover, for those of you that are new, can include things like courses and curricula. It's already been mentioned, the University Committee on Tenure and Promotion, a very important committee. And I think INDEV, or instructional development, was mentioned, and informational technology, I believe, IT I always call it, is another very important committee, especially currently these days. But there are other standing committees as well. And in fact, their purposes and membership requirements, et cetera, are all laid out in the faculty manual, as well as on the Office of the Faculty Senate website. Now, we call this service, of course, serving on these committees, but I do want to point out there are some real advantages to faculty to serve on these committees. Number one, first and foremost, you get a say in what matters come before the Faculty Senate and the standing committees, those things that fall under our purview. Your opinion is heard, and in some cases you can greatly influence the final outcome. Second off, you learn a lot about how the university works outside of your particular unit or college, which is can be very useful to your career and also to dealing with these challenges that I've mentioned. And then finally, I feel that you build a lot of relationships with faculty across the university and also with administrators, which helps us all work more efficiently together in shared governance with the administration. So, later in the fall, we will be putting out a call for interest levels, essentially for your interest in various standing committees, hoping to get some volunteers to volunteer to serve on these committees. I encourage you all to seriously look at this call, to look at the standing committee composition, and to choose those committees that are dealing with a topic that you're passionate about, that you think you have great ideas about, that you can contribute to faculty governance on these committees. I will point out, as was mentioned earlier by my distinguished colleague from physics, you do not have to be a faculty senator to serve on these standing committees. They're open to all faculty, more or less. There are a few committees that have some requirements for rank or career track, but all of that is spelled out in the committee descriptions, so you can easily find that out if you're quote unquote eligible for those committees if you're interested. And in closing, I'll keep it short. One final bit of advice to all the new faculty, and maybe also a reminder to some of the more experienced faculty. Take a look at the faculty manual, actually read it. It is an important document. It enumerates all the rights and responsibilities of faculty. It describes the process and standards for tenure and promotion. And as well as being a guidebook, it is also very important as a de facto contract between faculty and the university. So it's very important that you read it and understand it and follow it, of course. One final note on that, it is a living document, all right? It's not a perfect document. There are always things that we're looking at to improve in the faculty manual, and that is an ongoing process. There's a very formal process for amending the faculty manual, which is handled by the Senate. So, stay tuned, keep an eye on the most recent version of the faculty manual to look for changes, and typically if changes are going to occur, that will be widely disseminated to the faculty in general before those changes are voted on by the Faculty Senate. And then, of course, anything that the Faculty Senate votes on and recommends comes before the general faculty typically at our spring meeting, where you will have a chance to also debate and vote on the issue directly as general faculty. Okay, and on that note, I thank you all for your time and for your efforts to continually improve USC. I look forward to working with you and for you over the next 2 years.
And thank you, Wayne, and I'm looking forward, I know the entire administration, to working together with you and the Senate during this period. There's no old business. Is there any new business? Is there anything for the good of the order? Right, now be careful. Motion to adjourn. 1 second. Any objections? The fall general faculty meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming and welcome to all the new faculty members.